Hey YouTube, Arab Carthage here. So let me show you something. This is my current Avatar campaign map. As you can see, I did Prestige, and part of the reason why I had to wait to bring you some more battles is because there was a bug that was glitching out the Prestige. People who did it at the wrong time, I guess. And anyway, that was Patchy, but anyway, he's back. Here he is, alive and well. But you can also see that because of the Prestige, it has changed my rank, and now I'm working on these silver ones. So this is what happens when you Prestige. You promote your avatar by clicking this button here. It's going to start over on the Conquest map. You lose all your skill points, and you have to earn them back. And again, skill points are what you use to make your general better. So you lose all of those, and also you lose any retainers that had to do with capturing provinces, but you get to keep your veterans, and you also get to keep any retainers that you got from post-battle drops. Also, you get to keep any armor from post-battle drops. So, in any case, hopefully that makes sense. So, I'm not going to be able to show you every battle on my quest for this prestige thing, but I am going to show you quite a few of them as I go through it. So, let's go into the battle replays. Now, one of the things I actually kind of like about this is that because of this, there's a lot of players who are no longer 10-star. I mean, they are. They've got those retainers and stuff, but they're working through the Prestige, so it means there's a lot of matches out there on medium funds, and it's really changed the nature of the game to something different, which in my opinion makes it a little bit more fresh and interesting. I'm trying to remember which battles it was that I wanted to show you. What was it? Let's see here. Anyway, I'll be back in a moment when I figure it out, and we'll get you the replay. Alright, YouTube, this is one of the ones I wanted to show you. This map right here, Koyasan Temple. It's an interesting map. If you check out the topography of it, and then the buildings that are here, it becomes interesting. So you can see there's a forest that runs around the lower edge of the map that you can use to sneak all the way across. And then there's a forest that runs around the upper edge of the map, which would allow you to sneak all the way to the other side as well. There's some rock formations and also some elevation changes that can create choke points, or the elevation, of course, can give you an advantage when it comes to charges and melee. So, let me talk with you a little bit about in this battle. I guess studying out the situation. So let's pause things real quick to start off with. And what do I mean by studying out your situation? So when I started this match, I knew what key buildings were on the map before I came here. So as you play the maps, try and remember what key buildings are out there, and also try and remember what the terrain is like, or look at that map as you come into it. So one thing I know is that I don't want to give up the shrine out here because it gives you a huge morale boost. I could really care less about the archery dojo just because it's down here in a poor position, and a player would just have to use spare units to try and capture it, and while they're doing that I can start the archer fight. But the temple is right here. It's easily accessible to both players, and it gives a huge boost that you don't want your opponent to get. However, in order to bring your whole army down here to try and capture the temple, you might end up sacrificing the high ground to your opponent, which would also be very bad, as there's forest and all kinds of stuff up here they can use to try and gain an advantage over you. Now there is some forestation right here, but you can't really put your whole army back there very well. So let's go ahead and hit play. I'm going to explain what I did. So sometimes people will bring cavalry to try and capture shrines. Sometimes people try and use their whole army. What I did was I brought a semi-versatile force here, but it's also very cost-effective. So for the price of a Yari Cav, which is $850, and then these Naginata attendants were $150 each, so that makes, what, $1150? And then $200 for the sword attendants, so for $1350. That's basically the cost of one really expensive veteran, or slightly more than the cost of a pretty darn good veteran. So I can bring 4 units for that. Now the Yari Cav obviously is to give me the mobility when trying to capture this shrine, and then these units are to give me a little bit more flexibility. So I've got a sword unit here, and then I've got the 2 spear units, so if enemy cav comes, I can fight them off pretty effectively. Good enemy infantry would be the real threat, but with my Yari cav around, I could always run hammer and anvils and stuff like that, so it's a combination of arms here that makes this dangerous. And I'm going to use this to try and either keep my opponent from capturing the shrine, or to allow me to capture it, while my main army captures the high ground. So not only am I going for the key building, I'm also focusing on the important terrain features of this map. So let's take a look back here. See my units run into place while his Yari Cav runs around in the background. I kind of taunt him in and out of Cav fights and keep my spears around so that he feels disinclined to engage me at any particular position. So you can see that he has moved off at this point. So my opponent has a light Cav and a Yari Cav, but you can see that because both of his units are Cav, he lacks the same versatility that I have with my force here, and surprisingly enough, my force only cost about 200 koku more than what he's got sitting right here, but mine's far more versatile. So, unit choice is a big thing. Trying in, and I'm not perfect at it, I make mistakes, but it's very important to try and consider how your unit choice is going to affect things. Now here he does a pretty smart move, charge these sword attendants with his light Cav, but light Cav is pretty craptacular. And even though my sword attendants have low stats, they'll do alright. Now over here, I get his Yari Cav with my Yari Cav, and I'm pretty sure I won the charge on that. I did. But I'm also moving in Naginata attendants to help seal the deal. So now I've got spear units running with my Cav. Again, this is the versatility of being able to bring an element like this. So you can see that it causes his Yari Cav to get cut down faster than what would have otherwise happened, and leaves me with quite a few units left in the field. And while he goes ahead to open fire on me, I've opened fired on his own bows. So yeah, you can see my bow monks raining down some serious pain onto these guys. Of course, he did move right there at the last second from those fire arrows, so that was pretty helpful. But he did not escape those. Some beautiful graphics. So yeah, in any case, now I've got the high ground from which to fire with my archers and also to defend with my infantry. You can see, looking from his perspective, this is quite a little hill to overcome. So he really shouldn't have allowed himself to get into this position. He should have used his army to contest for the high ground, but if, even still, he didn't bring the versatility with his units to allow him to keep me from getting the shrine. Now I'm very close to capturing the shrine, and my opponent knows this, and so this is what's going to really start hurting my opponent. He can't ignore me gaining the shrine, so he has to send a unit out here, and he's going to send this Yari Samurai. I find Yari Samurai, to be quite honest, to be a completely worthless unit. Even with all the patches and everything, I find them to be pretty darn worthless. They don't have enough armor to really survive a lot of bow fire. Naginatas are just as good versus Cav, and better in an infantry fight, and so I don't really see the point in these Yari Samurai other than the fact that they're fast, but oh well, big deal. My opponent's wasting arrows on my Naginatas and also on my attendant force, which is a complete waste. My bow monks will sit here and just absolutely shred him in the time being, so I'll get you some close-ups of that. So you can see my guys have a massive hill advantage here, and it's going to force my opponent forward. Now here he's got some Nodachi Samurai and Lone Sword Ashigaru, both of which are very, very vulnerable to missile fire, and I'm going to take advantage of that here in just a moment. So you can see me just spraying into these sword units and his bow units, and look how many losses these guys take. Already down almost 40 men, and they're down to 69 men after that many volleys. Yeah, check that out. So his Nodachis just get ruined, plus they're charging uphill, which is going to really nerf their charge. These Lone Swords even got some fire there, but watch these guys. Look at them just trying to trudge up the hill here. It's going to take away a lot of their charge. My Naginata Samurai are heavily armored, charging downhill, so the momentum is really going to be mine. And then when you look at the terrain, my men have the tactical terrain advantage there. So yeah, check out my guys just giving it to these sword units. So after the patch, sword units are still good, but you have to be careful how you engage them against Naginata units, as they can definitely be beaten by a Naginata Samurai, which kind of makes sense because the Naginata Samurai cost more. But don't be fooled, a good Katana Samurai or Nodachi will have higher attack than a what do you call it, Naginata Samurai. But one thing I found is that the Naginata Samurai, something about that defense and their armor that really allows them to be brutally effective in a lot of situations. So here I'm just unleashing on his Katana Samurai. Over here, one of his Yari Samurai actually does real well against my Naginatas. And that's probably the way it would have been in real life, but I was actually surprised how good these Yari Samurai did against my men, especially with such a crappy attack. But they did do pretty good. Now his general runs around trying to take out my bows, because my bows are causing an insane amount of damage. I kept a Nun unit in reserve though, These nun units aren't fantastic, but because of some of the nerfing of swords and the changing of retainers, the nun units can be effective. You don't want to bring them as a backbone, in my opinion, but they can be a very good flanking force or something to help protect your back lines. They have a really high attack, pretty good defense, and decent morale. And they also have a bonus versus cavalry. So you're going to see him get in here and really help mop up against this enemy avatar. And then as this enemy unit of Yari Cav that was previously hidden comes out from hiding, as they meet my warrior nuns, they're going to meet a force that they don't really want to be in a fight with. He is going to try and swing around here. He does get into my bows, but I go ahead and turn my bows towards him, start to get some kills, and then my avatar and those nuns won't be too far behind, so there's only so much he can do. So the lesson here is, in my opinion, it's all about terrain and key buildings. So I chose an army selection that was versatile. It was very light on cavalry, but my Naginata Samurai, again, are versatile. They're good against missiles, they're good against cav, and they're pretty good in a melee fight. So that's the kind of stuff that I was depending on. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Let's go to the next battle. Alright folks, this one is a 2v2, and I had to show you this one just for fun, because I thought Hannibal's rather cruel and unusual tactic was kind of funny. And it wasn't a match-made battle, obviously. But so we go to the battle list and we want to play a quick 2v2, and Hannibal decides that he'll come up with the tactic of we select a rush army because, hey, rushing is fun, and now it's back in Shogun 2. You can do it again. It doesn't mean it's unbeatable, but you can definitely do it. And so we know that the Sakura Ridge map is a good one for rushing, but if our opponents know that it's Sakura Ridge, then they're also going to bring a good rush army. So what Hannibal does, which again I thought was a little bit underhanded, but at the same time funny because of the spirit in which it was done. These guys were good sports about it, but Hannibal, once everybody readied up, Hannibal waited to be the last one to ready up, and he switched the map from, like, I don't remember, some other map, and he switched it to Sakura Ridge at the very last second, and then readied up. So yeah, kind of a cheap tactic, but it turns out to be kind of funny, and so that's why I want to show you this. And plus, just wanted to let you know that rush armies are back. Again, they're not invincible, but they can be used rather effectively. I have a combined arms rush army, so I have 3 Naginata samurai leading the way. I've got 4 katana samurai and 3 warrior nuns, and then I've brought a second crap contingent, one might call it, which is composed of, I believe, 3 sword attendants and 2 Naginata attendants, and there they are. They're going to be a flanking force so as to get behind my opponent's troops and demoralize them in that manner. They're not going to be that good, but again, because I have the Naginatas and the swords, I have a little bit of versatility there, albeit they're quite weak. So my opponent comes up, he rushes up the hill, which is good, trying to stop me from getting position. That's definitely what he needed to do, even though he didn't necessarily bring a rush army. I go ahead and surround his Yari Cav, though, quickly start to decimate them. So, you know, it's not the type of fight that he really wanted to be in. And then Hannibal's cavalry, of course, is engaging the enemy cavalry as well. And so a lot of the enemy cavalry is tied down. And then Hannibal's cavalry also is running distraction by running into the enemy units and keeping them from gaining the hill. You can see that Hannibal's army is now in a good position to take the fight to his opponent, and he's got a lot of sword infantry. Now again, though, the reason why I'm using these Naginata is because of the versatility. They can prevent an oncoming cav charge, as they will absolutely massacre cav. Here you can see him helping mop up the remainder of that enemy cav, and then my monk cav is going to run off to the back lines to try and come in handy later. My opponent has wheeled up here, but his men aren't completely on top of this hill, which is going to leave him in bad position. And it's going to leave my men cover from these trees, so I'll take very few missile casualties. And it'll allow me to get up here and put him in a bad position. So let's watch the charge close up, give you some eye candy, and check it out. There's my flanking force that's now all the way to the rear of my opponent's army, and my opponent is going to have to turn troops to face them. And this is also going to lead to further demoralization due to being surrounded. You can hear war cries going off and everything too. Look, these Nodachis are faced the wrong way. I don't know if my opponent didn't notice that or what. Of course, I haven't charged in yet, so hopefully I don't. Yeah, look, he's going to bring these nuns forward to meet me up front. For whatever reason, I must have been microing somewhere else and I didn't charge. Here, my guys are going to go ahead and charge. I love the way Naginata Samurai look. They're freaking awesome. Got these sword units out on the flank, and then look, here comes my monk cav. It's going to come in from behind and further demoralize these troops over here by getting a rear charge. Check out the surrounding maneuver that's going on here. So even though these are just attendant units, I've got his general caught up in combat back here. I've got a lot of his troops held up in combat. Yeah, even though they're just attendant units, his army is now completely surrounded. And Hannibal has done the same thing and mopped up his opponent. My opponent is in the process of being completely enveloped. So I've got swords on the flanks, I've got Naginatas up front, so there is no escape. There's no escape from behind either. And his units are just going to get absolutely cut down in this horrendous fight. His missile units, of course, are going to be ineffective. Yeah, check this out, man. It's crazy. So yeah, a lot of my attendant units finally routed. One of them's still in the fight right here, my sword attendants, but look how many of his troops it's drawing away. And again, I'm going to further hit the encirclement. My Naginata Monk Cav popped off a war cry here. You can see it's affecting the enemy troops. I do believe they have finally routed, though. And it just ended up being a really bad encirclement. So when you're rushing, you definitely need to have a strategy. Now, do I suggest tricking your opponents on the map? No. I just thought this one was kind of funny. Thought you all might enjoy that. I don't know what's up with the replays. It seems like they're stopping before the end of the actual replay. In any case, you can see that it was going to be a clear victory for us. And when you're taking a rush army, I like the combined arms approach, but there's lots of different ways that you can rush. You can use cav heavy. You can use all swords if I wouldn't recommend it. You can use all spears, which is actually semi-feasible as long as those spears are Naginatas. So I like the fact that Shogun's pretty darn well balanced now. The units, there's some powerful units, but they also cost a lot, and so I think Shogun's probably in the best balance that it's ever been since it's been released. There's a lot of dynamic in the game that I really enjoy. There's some good armies out there. None of them are really unbeatable. But one I will go ahead and tell you to watch out for is I ran into one today where someone will just bring attendant infantry because it's really cheap. So they'll just bring attendant infantry, they'll max out bow cav, which is 3 good bow cav, and then they'll bring like a pretty large cav spam. A cav spam of about 8 or 9 units. And the reason that's so dangerous is because if you go try to focus on their infantry, you'll just be getting peppered by the bow cav and hammer and anvil. So you gotta be careful with an army like that. Just refuse, and chances are they'll be camping with the attendant infantry. They'll just pick a hill or a forest and camp there, and make you feel like you have to go attack them. Don't do it. Stand your ground, get into a forest, shoot the bow cav with your bows. Do not go engage wherever they're camping with those attendant infantry. So that is one type of gimmick army that I've noticed online. And I say gimmick army, I mean there's things that it's definitely intelligent about people choosing it, which is you can get tons of great cavalry and have the token infantry to just hold them in place while you smash them with the cavalry. So be careful with stuff like that. Don't get intimidated by the bow cav or all the other cav. Just hold your ground, be smart, and that's kind of what this game's all about, though. I like that. It's a lot of fun. I'm glad for the patch. I think CA's done a great job. The game is pretty darn well balanced, and the new campaign's pretty fun. Some of the new units are fun to mess with. So real happy with the state of Shogun 2 right now. Hope you all get a chance to enjoy it. Heir of Carthage signing off for now.
Date my blade.
Do you like Katana, you pappy? That one's one of my favorites.
Wait, hold on a second. I have to go keep looking. Patchy's Pain Patrol, Seeds of Doubt, Wind of Faith, Katana UI, Katana Yo Mama, Widow's Professions, Nagi this, Nada, Patchy's Memorable, Date My Blade. Oh yeah, it's back to being just plain old Patchy. What? You named one of your warrior nuns Geisha?
Yeah, it's something like that.
You are lame. That is just so not up to scratch with the rest of your stuff.
Oh, I'll rename it when I think of it.